And now for the thrilling conclusion of Dustin Taylor's Sultai Whip deck. So this was a fun deck to play. I think there are a lot of places that we can improve, but I really like the concept. Splashing for Dragonlord Atarka seems pretty cool. It can help out a lot against the other mid-range decks in the format. Just being a giant creature that like the green-red decks can't kill, or being able to kill something like Siege Rhino. Bringing it back with a Whip of Erebos is pretty crazy. Just a 13-point life swing is awesome. But I'm not sure if it's worth adding another color to the deck. It is pretty clunky. I think, at the very least, Hornet Queen felt significantly better than Atarka in most situations where I could have had one or the other. So I think that's definitely something to keep in mind. This deck that Dustin Taylor played at the Star City Games Open in Providence was pretty cool on paper, I'm not going to lie, but I think it is a little too expensive, a little too clunky to exist as it currently does. Some ways that I think we could potentially improve it is I would definitely trim down on one of the Sidisi Undead Viziers. I drew multiple copies a little too often, and the fact that it costs 5 and you need like another guy in play to sacrifice to make it worth playing is a little rough. It is an effect that I do want, but I think 3 is just one too many, so trimming one of those seems good. I want to draw Whip of Erebos naturally a little more often, so I think maybe a third Whip would be nice. You know, even playing something like Commune with the Gods to help find it doesn't seem all that bad. And most people are going to try to kill it, so you know, I think just having an additional copy wouldn't be all that bad. I wanted like 12 Murderous Cuts in my deck. Maybe that just means that the deck needs a few more cheap removal spells in the main deck. I think Ultimate Price is great for this kind of deck, being able to kill Stormbreath Dragon, Thunderbreak Regent, and Serac Dragonclaw, or whatever, Dragon Speaker. I don't know what his name is. The new Serac. The Hunt Caller, that's what he is. Just having ways to kill that for like 1 or 2 mana is really important when you have so many lands in your deck that like come into play tapped. And yeah, I mean that's basically all I got for that. We want more removal. Downfall I think is a little too slow. I do like Ultimate Price a lot right now. I would 100% cut Torn Elemental. Just I don't ever see the appeal of this card. I feel like there are way too many ways to disrupt it. You have to continually exile it if your opponent keeps killing it, and also have like a you know, green or black permanent in play to keep bringing it back. It's kind of expensive. The effect is nominal, minimal. Can't really use my words today. My apologies. The Dragonlord Slumgar felt pretty solid. This might be one of the worst Tasigur decks I've played in a while. His ability did not feel relevant ever. You have so many weird bad cards in your deck to get back, like Satyr Wayfinders, Sylvan Caryatids, you know, Thoughtseizes when you're super low on life. You know, the other Tasigur, giving that back to you is you know, whatever. Tasigur as a body, the 4/5 is relevant, but I want my creatures to all have really good effects when they come into play. So I might maybe just go down to like 1 Tasigur or something. As for the sideboard, Disdainful Stroke felt mediocre because I was wanting to tap out almost every single turn. I might rather just play like a couple of negates, since you do want them against like Esper Dragons, but at the same time you want to counter Ojutai, so maybe it's just a card you only bring in against the control decks. The Treasure Cruise felt reasonable. I might want a second. Soul of Innistrad feels a little out of place, but I do like it. It's a card that I like having main deck more than sideboard. Just kind of fits with the whole mill myself theme. Get back some of my more expensive creatures, or my better creatures, against the decks that are trying to kill all your stuff. First thing I would recommend, though, is adding a second Merciless Executioner. With the rise in popularity of the Esper Dragons deck after Grand Prix Krakow, I think Executioner is just too good to only have 1 copy of. The one game where I drew it, I I didn't draw it in the video, but I played a little bit earlier, and I was able to play it and whip it back in the same turn to kill an Ojutai and a Dragon Lord, or sorry, not Dragon Lord, but a Slumgar the Drifting Death. And having the Executioner there was invaluable, and so having a few more of those against the matchups that have Ojutai in them seems great. The Thoughtseizes felt a little out of place. I think you want them against the control decks, but it's possible that you just don't want to play any main deck. Like I said, you're kind of strained on your mana a lot with your stuff coming into play tapped, trying to cast Satyr Wayfinders to hit land drops. You're just tapping out for bigger and better things every single turn, and it was pretty rare that I could Thoughtseize and play the spell that I wanted to play, if that makes sense. And so it always kind of felt like I was off curve a little bit. So that was one thing I didn't like about Thoughtseize in this deck. The Freaka, it looked okay. I don't know, it didn't really impress me, but I think it's an effect that you want against decks that can go super long. It's obviously much better in a Constellation-based deck where you can draw a bunch of cards off Eidolon of Blossoms, or if you have more copies of Doomwake Giant, you can do cool stuff with that. And I would kind of like a second Reclamation Sage in the board. There were a couple of different whip variants at the SCG Open in Providence, one of which was won by Oliver Timako. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. But if whip is coming back, then having access to more than one Reclamation Sage is important. You need to be able to kill opposing whips of Erebos, and if we're not going to play Sultai Charm, then having a couple of Rec Sages is great. If Mono Red continues to be a presence, I would like access to a third Drown in Sorrow, but this is all stuff that I don't know if we actually have room for, so it's kind of hard to fit all this stuff in. Maybe if we end up moving the Ultimate Prizes to the main deck, that'll give us a little more room in the sideboard. Maybe if we just play straight Sultai and cut Dragon Lord Tarka, we can just play 2 Hornet Queens in the main deck instead, and that would solve a lot of our problems. But alright guys, well, I hope you enjoyed watching me get mud stomped. This deck was fun to play. I wouldn't give up on it. It's a work in progress. I do want to say congrats to Dustin Taylor for doing so well with the deck, and this has been a fun experiment, and hopefully this is something we're going to continue doing in the future. But this has been Spotlight on the Open Series. This is Dustin Taylor's Sultai / 4-color whip deck, and I'm Todd Anderson, and I'll see you later.